And welcome to CSCMP's Member Mondays. I'm your host, Tim Pajak, and I'm the Membership Engagement Manager here at CSCMP. Today, we're very delighted to have Venkat Vasan, Regional Vice President of Digital Supply Chain and Industry 4.0 at SAP. SAP is a corporate member of CSCMP, and Venkat has been at SAP for over 11 years after about a decade at Rockwell Automation. Venkat, welcome and thank you for your CSCMP membership.
Good afternoon, Tim, and thank you for the warm welcome. Happy to be here.
Why don't we start, Venkat, with you're sharing a little bit about your current role at SAP. Tell us a little bit about that. In particular, I know your Meet member profile is running at the time we're having this conversation, and I know we asked in that profile, what was your childhood dream job? And it turns out you said your current job is your childhood dream job. So tell me more about that. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, great, Tim. My current role at SAP is I lead the Center of Excellence for our Industry 4.0 and Digital Supply Chain suite of solutions. What that really means is that I have a team of practitioners in the supply chain and manufacturing space, very similar to myself. And we work with our customers, our internal customers, which is our account executives, as well as our end customers to kind of understand their business issues and business outcomes that they're trying to address based off of some of their requirements in the space of supply chain and manufacturing. So we work with our customers in an advisory capacity to understand their business requirements and to see how SAP solutions can help address those business requirements. So you asked about my dream job. Coming out of graduate school, I did get my master's in electrical engineering at Mississippi State here. One of the things that I was looking to understand is how to bring about the elements of, the ability to ingest data, make that data contextual, and basically be able to drive business outcomes based off of that data. And surprisingly, every role that I've had since I've had that the impetus to be in that kind of a position has led me to where I am today. Most organizations have tried to do that. We keep hearing about data being the new oil. That truly is the case. So that's why it's perfect for me from where I stand today to be able to have those conversations with our customers.
Yeah, I usually ask people like in these conversations, what's the biggest challenge they're facing on the job and how they're managing it. But I think it makes sense. I'd like to hear, let's get a little more specific in your case as far as data. What's the biggest data challenge you're facing?
I mean, in any transformation when it involves technology, I think there's three key elements, Tim. What I call people, process, and technology, not necessarily in that order, right? People, there's an organizational change. When you think about data, there's all these systems that are generating data right now, petabytes of data, right? And there are different stakeholders within the organization that have access to the data, but also systems that are generating that data. So they want to be able to know how their data that their systems are generating can actually be federated in a way that the organization can consume it and have it be actionable. So there's that people element of it. And then there's the process piece, which is, okay, if I have all these systems generating data, how do I make sure that the data is not duplicative, but then it is actually being additive in nature so that you can actually get that context? Last piece of the technology. What kind of technology do you use to ingest the data? How do you actually make that data available to the different stakeholders? So that's what I see. It's really that people, process, and technology. If you can address the people piece of it, it actually dovetails into the processes, and then the technologies then become somewhat of an afterthought.
Let's talk about that technology piece a little bit. I mean, since I'm talking with a digital supply chain guy, I think this next question is kind of a must-have, right? What technologies or trends or disruptive forces do you see having the biggest impact on supply chain?
Yeah, great question. I mean, you right now there's a lot about Chat GPT in the news, right? When I talk to a lot of customers, the end vision or goal for a lot of organizations is this concept of a touchless supply chain. What does that really mean? the ability to look at data with context, and the ability to basically pivot, excuse me, pivot as needed based off of that data when they're running their operations, right? I think one of the things that the COVID-19 pandemic really shone a light on is the fact that there's a lot of risks inherent in our supply chain, right? There's the global element of where potentially raw material or components are coming in to the supply chain. There's elements of logistics and disruptions in logistics. So when you think about those elements from a supply chain perspective, it's around how do I mitigate risk? And I think data provides the ability for an organization to be able to look across the different stakeholders within the organization that are actually generating the data to be able to identify areas of risk and to be proactive to reduce the risk that's inherent in the supply chain, the end-to-end supply chain, to make it more resilient.
I want to kind of pivot off of that a little bit. I keep coming back to your Meet a Member profile just because it's the one that's on the website right now, so
Right.
it makes sense. But we asked you to kind of describe your job in a tweet, and I love what you wrote. You said supply chain and manufacturing evangel. I having trouble saying it.
Evangelist.
Evangelizer. Evangelizer. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
I'm really passionate about the space. I mean, when you think about all the changes that are happening from a technology perspective, I do believe sometimes manufacturing, not necessarily supply chain as an end-to-end process, but manufacturing people can be somewhat of laggards in adoption of technology. The reason is if you think about the industry 4.0 processes that we talk about, they've been on a journey. And as part of that journey, they've come to the realization that there's some elements of technology that may or may not be completely relevant to their day-to-day operations. And it's, I think, based off of some anecdotal experiences that they've had. What we're finding now is with data, with the context of the data, with the ability to do computing at scale, at the edge, there's a tremendous opportunity for manufacturing companies to be able to leverage these technologies. We talked about machine learning, artificial intelligence, all of those in context with that data to really optimize manufacturing. And as a result, the end-to-end processes within supply chain. So that's where I talk about evangelism is really making sure that our customers understand the capabilities that now exist from a technology standpoint to really drive home the industry 4.0 vision, which is to be able to leverage all of the data elements, intelligent technologies to drive almost a touchless manufacturing type environment. And I think many customers are looking at this a little bit skeptically. And we know that there are companies out there and our customers that have actually embarked on this journey and have been very, very successful. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel for other customers. That's why I call it evangelism, because really passionate about bringing those kinds of technologies and capabilities to our customers.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Has there been a experience, recently, good or bad, that you could describe? Whether it's with a manufacturer or any other type of firm that you've experienced.
Yeah, great question, Tim, because what we find is that there's levels of maturity within our companies, customer company organizations. Some are at one end of the spectrum where they're still using a lot of paper-based processes in their manufacturing and supply chain processes. Then we have others that have actually, embraced technology, robotics, automation, even drones in some cases, which I thought was really almost, really futuristic if you think about it. But there are companies that are doing that. So one of the challenges we have when we talk to our customers around Industry 4.0 and leveraging these new technologies, they tell us, hey, we're at Industry 2.5. How do we get to Industry 4.0, right? So it's really more of a crawl, walk, run kind of an element when we talk to them about leveraging technologies, not only in manufacturing, but overall supply chain. When we think about logistics, for example, inbound or outbound logistics, how you're doing automated storage and retrieval within your warehouses, how you're actually leveraging barcodes and RFID technologies, all of these come into play. So really the challenge is working with our customers to identify where they are in the maturity spectrum and really identifying what I would consider short-term, low-hanging fruit type gains that can actually fund additional investment in their crawl, walk, run journey.
This has been fantastic. Love hearing, the specifics uh, in terms of uh, what SAP's been working on with some of your customers. This is really good. I would love if we had, an hour. We could talk about this for a long time. But I did want to, kind of pivot a little bit back to your own journey, your own career. Um, how's your CSCMP membership been impactful in your career so far?
The CSCMP membership has been phenomenal, right? I mean, the Edge programs that you folks run. I was also been very fortunate to be part of your university program. I actually sat on a couple of the sessions where you have different university students present their findings on a specific problem. Sometimes, as professionals being in the field, we sometimes can't see the forest from the trees. So it's very refreshing to actually listen into some new perspectives. Other than that, just interacting with other members, meet a member like we are having here with other people that are part of CSCMP, understanding their journeys gives us the ability and the insight into what other customers are facing as well. Because, we do cover about 20 plus industries here at SAP, but there's always some industries that are out on the fringes that we don't work with that are part of the CSCMP, tracks and sessions where we can gain real insight and how can we use that with some of the industries that we're speaking with. So it's been phenomenal being a part of the CSCMP organization, Tim.
I'm really glad to hear that, of course. We were talking earlier about, if you could interview anyone, who would that be? And we're talking a little bit about Gandhi and George Patton and some quotes there. What if you had a chance to chat with either Gandhi or George Patton? What kind of question would you ask them?
Yeah, I mean, George Patton, from a business perspective, I'm going to look at this quote: "A good plan today is better than a perfect plan executed tomorrow," is what George Patton said. And when we think about transformation in general, and specifically in digital supply chain or supply chain and manufacturing, there's a lot of people that want to understand, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I look at maybe other customers that have done this almost in, what I would call like a purgatory situation where they're trying to figure out, is there a small gain that I can make that can build upon it? And really, I think when it comes to embracing technology that exists in supply chain and manufacturing, the ability to do something really fast, this concept of a fail fast and learn as you go through that is really critical. And I think that's why, from a business standpoint, George Patton's, quote there really resonated with me, because when we talk to customers, let's get started. Let's try to show some incremental gains that could potentially feed, but let's not sit on, hey, what's going to be the best way to do this, because sometimes the great can be the enemy of the bad, or the good, as I call it. And so I think that's the key there, is to basically make sure that you can start on a journey and get there really quickly. And when it comes to Gandhi, obviously, I mean, we all know his approach to embracing, the different aspects or different points of view when he was working across the different people that he was trying to get to help with his movement. And I think that's very critical in supply chain. Because if you think about the different stakeholders that we work with, they're across the different pillars within supply chain, from design, which is in the PLM space, planning, manufacturing, and logistics. And sometimes there are different points of view on how to approach problem statements. So working together with them, bringing everybody together, I think it's something that to be learned from somebody like Gandhi, who was able to bridge the different viewpoints.
Herding cats, right?
Yeah, herding cats,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, we're running short on time, but I wanted to just ask you, is there anything that you'd like other CSCMP members to know about you, or about SAP, or even something that's coming in the digital supply chain that folks should watch out for?
Great point, Tim. I mean, one thing I do want to highlight is at our Newtown Square facility in Pennsylvania, our North American headquarters, we have what we call the Industry 4.0 hub. And the Industry 4.0 hub is essentially almost a smart factory in of itself, where we actually, demonstrate the capabilities that we have in terms of trying in a transactional ERP system, which is our SAP S4 ERP platform, to manufacturing operations, including things like AGVs, all of those things. So it's a very good way for customers and even our CSCMP members to see how SAP is bringing Industry 4.0 to life. And so I'd like to kind of leave that as maybe, one of the things for our CSCMP members to even leverage in their conversations with customers.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. That is all the time we have today. Venkat, thank you so much for your membership with CSCMP. We appreciate you joining us for this edition of Member Mondays.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be here.